Well, hi there, I'm Neil McDonald, and welcome to the next tarot key in our tarot series, which is key number 3, the Empress. And you can see it sat here in a lovely nature or garden environment. So for that reason, I thought I'd come outside and sit with my wonderful olive tree here. It just seems appropriate. So the Empress is any mother goddess from any tradition throughout the world. In particular, she's Aphrodite and Venus. So how did we get to this point? Well, we started off with the Fool, you remember? And we said that the Fool was a universal life force, which we called superconsciousness. We then moved on to the Magician, and he's here with his wand up to super consciousness and pulling down the energy through himself, through his goals and desires, and magnifying it into subconsciousness, his garden, which we called the High Priestess. Now, the High Priestess will have done her work. Whenever you fed in, she'll come out the other side in meaningful changes and actions in your life. But the Empress stands at a point between subconsciousness and then feedback into our self-consciousness again, which was the Magician. So it's fed in, and now you're going to get feedback. She sat there receptive for ideas, the High Priestess, waiting for something to work with. She sat passively and patiently waiting. But our Empress now, you can see she's surrounded in lovely nature and throwing out idea. She's creativity, so she's got lots of ideas and concepts to feed back to you. Now this is why we call the Empress creative imagination, because now it's your turn to take the feedback that comes to mind and create stories in your imagination to feed back in again. So I'll go through all the symbolism of the Empress card as usual, and then we'll figure some ways out of how we can actually use it practically in our lives. So first of all, we got the number 3, okay, and remember we said with the Magician that he was number 1, and that was like 1 point. So that was an idea. There wasn't. We weren't moving forward in creation there. But with the High Priestess, we had number 2. So then we had a line. We had 2 points. And now we have number 3, the High Priestess. So now we can have an actual shape. We've got a triangle because we've got 3 points in space. So now we're really creating something. The letter, the Hebrew letter, is Daleth. And that is the door. So the idea here is that we had Beth, the Magician, and that was house, that was home. And then we had the High Priestess, which was Gamel, that was camel, and off we went on a journey. Okay, but now with Daleth here, the door is open again, and we're back home. Now, remember we said in the introduction to tarot that things in the back at the top were the starting position. So here we have Cyprus trees. Now these are trees that are sacred to Venus, and there's 10 of them here, which means that this associates with the Cephras on the Tree of Life, and those were represented on the Fool's Coat as well. You'll notice that we have a stream flowing through. Now, we mentioned last time that any water that you see throughout the tarot series begins at the robe of the High Priestess. So this is just a continuation of the same energy from the High Priestess flowing through this card or this key. She's got a crown on her head, and in this crown has 12 golden 6-pointed stars. Now the 6-pointed stars represent the coming together of the male and the female, so the opposite is dual, so the coming together of duality on the physical plane, because you have the male triangle and the female triangle coming together. As you push the two triangles together, you get the six-pointed star. So this is to say that our Empress is active on the physical plane. Now she's got a moon at her feet as well. Now this moon is subconsciousness. So whilst she's got the universal consciousness, the physical plane at the top, she's got the moon, so she's saying that she's also using the powers of subconsciousness to come up with the results, or that fantastic memory that we said that subconsciousness actually is. Another point on the number, we can say that as we go through the cards here, we have 1 plus 2 equals 3. Okay, and so what we're saying is it is the power of that through that equals that. And also, if you mix together yellow and blue, you get green, you get Venus. Okay, that's neat, that, isn't it? So another strange thing about the crown and the moon is that this is the representation of the woman of the apocalypse in Revelation 12. Anybody knows why? Please tell me in the comments below. Now you'll notice that she's got yellow hair, and this is basically the same as the Fool, so it's the radiant energy of the Fool is continued through the series. She's got a wreath of myrtle holding her hair back. Now myrtle is again sacred to Venus, and it's an evergreen, so it indicates immortality. The necklace she has here is of seven pearls. Now these 7 pearls are the 7 chakras of the body, and the heavenly bodies are the heavenly bodies as they used to be called. But the idea here is that she has a string through them, so they're all controlled in place. All the chakras are controlled in position. So her robe, as we said, is green, which is again this is Venus, and you can just see underneath her hand that she's protecting. She's pregnant with ideas. She's a pregnant woman, and she's pregnant with ideas that she wants to pass out. She wants to give them to us so we can use them. She has a girdle of red, you see, but the red, it's a red triangle. So it's the energy of Mars, but it's also the triangle of 3 that we've said that she's created. Now she's holding a scepter as well. Now the scepter is dominion. Now what is she dominion of? Well, you see the top is the male and female signs. So again, she's it's the same as the stars on her crown. She's got dominion over the coming together of the male and female, the duality, and the physical plane. So she's dominant in the physical plane. Her shield is copper. This is the metal of Venus as well, and it's a dove. So the dove is obviously sacred. It could be the Holy Spirit, which again is the Trinity, which is 3 again. Now she's sat on a lovely bench. She's on an ornate bench. The High Priestess was sat on a square cube, straight square cube. But now we have ideas, now we have creativity. So we have an unornate, designed bench for her to sit on. In the foreground, you'll see there's wheat. So if the trees in the background were the beginning, these are the results, it's the wheat. And so the wheat shows a full cycle of adaptation. The wheat began as grass, but now it's pregnant with seed and ideas. So it's ready to sprout into whatever the process is, but process becomes through our interception. The roses here are the roses of the garden of the magician, and you'll see the red again. So they just have the same symbolism as a magician. So it's active desire, and there's five. It represents five senses. So we're going to use all five senses in our creative imagination. So where exactly does this leave us? So we've been through the symbolism, okay. So on a practical level, how can we move forward using this information? So we know that we've been drawing down the energy from superconsciousness through our self-consciousness, and it's been going down into subconsciousness. And we also know now that subtle changes will start occurring. There'll be links, there'll be transformations, very slight and imperceptible, but leading to the desires that you've been, or the effects that you've been looking for. There's an occult law that says whatever is held unwaveringly in subconsciousness tends to manifest in body and effects. And this is exactly the process that we've set into motion. But remember that God helps himself, helps them that helps themselves. So whenever you see something that is an opening or a suggestion coming back to you, don't forget to act upon it. I remember somebody many years ago when I first was working with the tarot, and I became particularly interested in the way that subconsciousness and self-consciousness worked in tandem together. I trained in hypnosis because this is the very same process that comes from this ancient wisdom of the tarot. Although the tarot, of course, gives us a much stronger influence because we have the images, the ancient images to work from. I remember a particular person many years ago, an old friend. I met her and I said, "How are you getting on?" And she was telling me that she was a bit unhappy because she didn't have much of a social life. She'd been working so hard that she's never really got out and she never sees anybody. So I suggested to her that it might be a good idea to picture a future with lots of friends and adventurous time when she could go out and meet people. And she said, "Well, that sounds like a good idea," and I explained the process to her. And then I saw her again a few weeks later, and I said, "Well, how's it getting on with you? How's this process getting on with you?" And she said, "Well, it didn't work." I said, "Oh, well, that's a shame. So are you not getting out these days still?" And she said, "Yes, I found a group of people a social group that I joined, and we go out. We go out for meals and theatre and go to the pictures and that sort of thing." I said, "How did that happen?" And she said, "Well, I met somebody in the post office, an old friend, who told me about this social group, and I joined it." So she said, "Your thing never worked. It was just that I met this guy in the post office." So I said, "Well, so it didn't work, but you are going out and you've got a good social life." She said, "Yes." God helps them who helps themselves. So, where does this leave us? Right, okay. So we've got to the process now where things are starting to move. Things are happening on the physical plane from what we've sent into subconsciousness. But now we're also going to get feedback from the subconsciousness, and that's the Empress. Okay, because the door is open. Daleth is open, and you'll find that ideas will come to your mind. You'll find inspirations, synchronicities will start happening in your life. So we've got the positive reinforcement already, but now it's time to move on to the next level. The ancient wisdoms say, now this is very, very important, so bear this in mind, okay? The ancient wisdoms say the point where the working process of subconsciousness may be controlled is the point where thoughts take definite form in mental images. I'll say that again. The point where the working powers of subconsciousness may be controlled is the point where thoughts take definite form in mental images. Okay? That is very important. Subconscious, as you can imagine, like a dream. So when you're asleep, your self-consciousness is shut down. It's at rest. And you see a dream. Now, a dream is the action of your subconsciousness. It's a mentally imaged picture of what your subconscious is working out. It's going through different ideas, putting things in place, sorting various things out. So this is the point where you intercede, at that point of dream level, by creating your own dreams, your own pictures, your own mental images. It's a bit like how the process works as well is a manoeuvring of time. For instance, you've heard of healing and of various miracle workings, as in the Bible. But this is a shifting of time. Say, for instance, if you break your leg can lie there, your leg's broken, but you know that if you leave it there in a splint for 4 months, it'll eventually knit together, and you'll be able to walk again. But the healer will come, and say they heal the leg, then what you're actually doing is using your body to heal, but it's shooting the time really quick, just moving the time shorter. So what I'm actually trying to say is that the feedback we're getting, the results we're getting from subconsciousness, we're trying to speed it up by the process of mental imagery. Eliphas Levi, one of the great occultists of the early times, said that imagination is the eye of the soul. Like I say, it's just like hypnosis, but it's using the ancient wisdom methods to do this. One more thing to mention before I just conclude with what we can actually do is an important word of power. Now the Delphi school, the mystery schools, carved on the wall, "Know thyself," which is basically saying, what am I? To know yourself, you need to ask the question, what am I? So know thyself is I am. Now, there are words of power in the ancient mysteries, and there's one that's known as the lost word, and this lost word is I am. If you think this is an incredibly important word, it's got extreme potency on the subconsciousness. Very, very important to remember. I am. We said that right at the beginning of this work that there was the name of creation, Yahweh, which is the word for Jehovah in the Bible, or the Lord, and that is I am that which was, I am that which is, I am that which will be. So you can see that word I am is the fundamental word in creation. So feed that word into your imagination, creative imaginary work. But hereby is a warning, because that is so important. The word I am. Don't ever use it negatively. Don't put yourself down. Don't say I am anything negative, because that can lead to terrible, terrible results in the long haul. Don't even use that phrase as a joke, because your subconsciousness doesn't know about humour. It only knows what you feed in, and it works accordingly. All the tarot cards, the tarot cards that we're dealing with, the keys of the Major Arcana, they all have pairs of opposites that are associated with each particular key. And with the Empress, the one here is wisdom and folly. Wisdom, obviously, because we can really move you can use the wisdom of life to move our lives forward. Folly, obviously, if we say the wrong thing to feed the wrong information into subconsciousness, we're going to get disastrous results. So, on a practical level, where does this leave us? Well, it leaves us with the words we said at the beginning for the Empress, which is mental imagery. So what you have to do, basically, is build up an image of what you want. So if you had a still image first that you can bring to mind that you want to manifest, but then try and make that into a short film in your mind. And so you write a storyboard out first is usually the best way, and then once you've got the idea of the little very short story that you're going to put in your mind, find the place of your mind's eye, which is about here usually, where you can shine a little screen. You have to all do this. You have to relax first, try and shut down your self-consciousness as much as possible, and see a screen in your face, in your mind's eye there, and play a little film. But always remember the 5 roses of active desire of the High Priestess and the Empress, and use all your senses, because this is what brings things to life. See what you see in your mind, but make it sharp, and make colours, fill it full of colour, as vivid as possible. What will you hear? What will you see? What will you smell? What will you touch? Bring all your senses to life, and go through this film. Do it often. Make sure you're lovely and relaxed. Play your films yourself off as often as you can, and then this will feed back into subconsciousness. You can do this on a train. You can do this when you're sat waiting for it, whatever, because it's a mental process. As long as you can close your eyes and relax, play your film, feed it into subconsciousness, you're moved on to the next level. So that, my friends, is the Empress. You're using cosmic laws to develop your own personality and your own personal life.